Welcome to this episode of Art's Workshop, where today we'll be turning this into this.
So I'm building the legs, or at least the basis to the legs right now. This leg is made of 3 pieces, 2 that look exactly like this, and the middle piece is like that. So right now it's laying on its side. Turn this one so you can get an idea of it. It'll fall apart. That's basically it, what it'll look like standing up. I will put in this video, I'll put the drawings that I created. Essentially glue these together, and then there'll be, this is a template for it that will go in here. And then if you can imagine, there'll be a main post coming up here, and another one goes there, and then 2 more up there.
So this is a multi-step gluing process. The first step is gluing the first side together to the middle, and then I'll keep going after the first set is dried and put the second set on.
Alright, as you can see, we got the legs, their leg bases done, at least in rough form, which is good enough for now. The next step will be to build the upright posts here and make provisions for the stretcher bar. So if you can imagine, there'll be 2 legs coming up and a stretcher bar to keep the 2 legs at the right distance. So I need to have a hole basically in the middle of the post for the stretcher bar. And then I need to have holes in the side of each upright to be able to catch this pocket here. So you can see I've got this little template made, or these templates made. That's essentially how this will work with the post in the middle. And if I did all my work right, this should be exactly 4 inches between these 2 with the little pockets in between. So let's see how good I do as we march along in this. But to be able to accomplish all of that, first thing I needed to do was to mark up the timber. And I'm making these center posts. They'll be 4 inches by 4 inches square. So this is 2 by 4, this is 2 by 4. They'll get glued together. I don't like this. Oh, okay. That. What still needs to happen, and I'll do this before I glue them together, is I need to make this into the tenon, the tongue, that'll drop down into that hole. So I'll do that. And I also need to make these pockets. That's the first thing I'll do. And as you can see, I've done one as a test. And the way I'm going to make these pockets is I have to do a lot of them. Is I made this little guide template up. This guide clamps onto this board. And then you take the router, essentially just go around with the router on, obviously. and clean up the hole. It takes a little while, but it makes a very nice hole when it's done. And if I do all my measurements right, I'm going to keep the precision up, which is important. So I've got a lot of cutting to do on each one of these, and there's 4 of these make up 2 upright posts. Lots of notches to cut out here and here, and the relieving here, and then yeah. And this here needs to be cut out kind of that's where the stretcher board will go. So lots of sawing to do, lots of sawdust to make. I'm going to do all that in a high-speed run, or maybe not even show it. So after a lot of sawdust has been made, we now have the upright legs, the upright portion of the legs. That's what these will become, and of course they'll fit into the tenon or the mortise holes of the base legs, and I still have to do mortise holes for the top plate that'll go on it. But I'm not going to bother filming it because it is boring. I'm going to glue these together next, like that. And go from there. A little more progress to show. I've got the leg bases. So I've got these pieces built so far. These leg braces are frankly the trickiest. And I've made 4 of them, 2 for each of the base sides. I've still got to make these 4, and unfortunately they're slightly different. So I had to modify my template just a smidge. But essentially, it'll ride like that. So, goal now is to make 4 more of these with the slight modifications necessary to fit this. So now is an exciting point for me, and that is to start the glue up process, because other than gluing together 2 pieces to be able to make a big piece like this one here, I haven't really done any gluing yet. So, you know, that's both a good thing and kind of a scary thing. Once you glue it, you can't take it apart. So in advance of this step, I've sanded everything. I've routed all of the edges, but not sanded that, because the final sanding will be for the assembled piece. Did all the final test fits. As you see, everything fits together, so now it's time to glue. Just wood glue. And after this initial glue up is done, then I'm going to be drilling and setting some dowel pins in to lock these and lock everything together with dowels as well as glue. Very cool, isn't it? I like this thing. Anyway, I'm going to speed up the rest of this as I glue it together, but I wanted you to see how this gets assembled. Let's go. The next task on my agenda is to build the stretcher board, which is this right here. I've already dimensioned it, so it's the correct width and depth, or close at least, and rough length. I've made a lot of marks on it. And what I've got to do before I carve anything else up is to put these holes in, and these will be for capture nuts. So a bolt goes through here and catches a nut that clamps everything together. So I've got to make these, and how I'm going to do it is I built this router guide, and it sets right there, and essentially it only allows the router to go back and forth. You'll see.
You to see a little bit of what it's going to look like when finished. Here are the capture nuts and the faceplate bolted in. This is just temporarily. I'm going to paint it brown.
Here is I'll call it the underframe of the tabletop. This is 1.5 inch square tube and 1.5 inch angle iron, all fitted together. Got the holes drilled for the mounting brackets, and I'm going to tack it up here on the wood table and then put it down on the concrete and weld it together solid, but it's nice and square, ready to go.
And here's the completed frame, painted in primer.
All right, next step in the process. This is the beginnings of the top of the table. They've been surface planed and edge planed, and they're ready to be jointed together. And I'll be joining them with these biscuits here. Got this mean looking blade, and it slices into the edge, and then you put a biscuit in and glue it all together. Still working on the top, and I've already finished this edge here, this tenon or tongue for this side of the top, the breadboard. This is the underside, by the way. This is the underside of the table. I've already flipped it over, and I've already routed out the top side of the tenon. What I have to do here is this last one, so I wanted to show you how I do it. I'll put it in the tripod, and we'll go from there. Alrighty, this is exciting. The tabletop is all one piece now. That's big, and I've done the mortise and tenon on these what I call breadboard ends. This has all been routed out, so this is going to fit on here like that, and eventually there'll be dowels pinned into it. But my task here is to glue and clamp the ends on. So that's what I'm going to do now. So this is how I make the pockets for the bow ties. So first thing I do is I take this little template, which has some holes in it, and set it exactly where I want it, and screw it in. That way it can't move as I'm putting an edge around it. Very tedious work. Once that's scribed, okay, so with the jig clamped in place so it can't move, I can remove this guy. And now we've got the template for the router to follow. We need a starter hole though, that's what this does. And this router has this collet to follow.
So here's the table upside down and the connection system between the two, which is very solid. It's all stainless bolts. Here's the bench, and that's the final bench in a few different views.
Good morning, and welcome to a sunny Saturday morning. Not inside the shop, of course. It's all plastic in here because I've cleaned this place to within an inch of its life and wrapped it in plastic to protect from the overspray. I'm going to be spraying this Minwax spar varnish. It's a polyurethane, very good stuff. UV protected and all that good stuff. And the spraying process is, I'm not going to be filming it because it is boring to watch. It's spray it on after everything is very clean, let it dry for 12 to 24 hours, sand it out, do it again, sand it, do it again, until I am happy with the finish, usually at least 3 coats. And in some cases that means I've got to do it up to 6 times. The table has to be turned, the tabletop has to be turned over. So there'll be a lot of work that I won't be filming, but I will put some pictures up of the finished product so we can all see in the video what it's like. And thanks for watching.